The stars outside the observation deck shimmered in artificial silence, distant and cold. Earth's insignia gleamed faintly on the armored shoulder of Staff Sergeant Amanda Reyes as she surveyed the orbital perimeter. Her rifle, a heavily modified M19 long-range rail sniper, rested at her side like a sleeping animal. She had been stationed at Frontier Post Helios, 9 for 3 months. Long enough to learn the rhythm of space boredom, long enough to realize it was never going to last. Amanda was a sniper, not a diplomat, but peacekeeping was the assignment now. The U.S. had merged with a unified Terran Defense Force, and her kill record had earned her a seat in orbit rather than on soil. She was silent, focused, methodical, qualities that unnerved those around her, especially the aliens. Today, a delegation from the Varick Dominion, known more broadly as the Galactic Empire, was arriving. They were tall, six-limbed humanoids with chitinous skin and proud eyes, regal in posture, imperial in behavior. Amanda was posted as escort security for the reception, though she'd been given strict orders: weapon holstered, finger off the trigger, and try not to offend anyone this time. The Varick delegation entered the hangar flanked by honor guards, their polished armor catching the artificial light. Amanda stood motionless beside the Earth diplomat, watching the commander of the Varick, General Torgu, approach. His compound eyes flicked briefly toward her, then narrowed in amusement. A human with a projectile weapon? He clicked in accented Terran. Do you still throw rocks too? There was laughter among his entourage. Amanda said nothing, her face unreadable. She'd learned long ago that silence, when sharpened by focus, could be louder than words. Torga stepped closer, inspecting her as if she were a museum piece. You kill from a distance, yes? Where's the honor in hiding? She met his gaze. Where's the intelligence in giving your enemy a chance? For a moment, the air shifted. Torga's mandibles twitched, a subtle sign of tension. But then he laughed, loud, disdainful, and turned his back on her. Your Earth is a child in a galaxy of empires. Be careful not to bite above your species. That night, Amanda stood in the firing chamber alone, recalibrating her rifle. Every sound of the tools, every flicker of diagnostic light, calmed her like a ritual. She wasn't angry. Anger clouded aim. But the Empire had dismissed her people, dismissed her, and that left a kind of silence she could only fill with precision. 3 days later, the outpost went dark. Amanda had been returning from a survey sweep when the emergency sirens began. By the time she reached the main bay, it was chaos. Explosions ripped through the hull, fire suppression foam hissing into the vacuum. She dragged a wounded corporal into cover as enemy soldiers, Varick shock troops, stormed through the corridors. It wasn't a raid. It was a message. She counted 7 confirmed kills from her elevated perch before her clip emptied. The 7th fell mid-sentence. His thorax ruptured from a kinetic round. She reloaded smoothly, the scream of oxygen-deprived compartments echoing around her. Her earpiece buzzed with scrambled commands. Backup wasn't coming. Earth Command was still deliberating on whether this constituted a breach of treaty. Amanda watched 2 young engineers take a plasma bolt to the chest while dragging evacuees. The Varick weren't aiming for soldiers. They were culling. She made it to the comms tower and rigged a transmission beacon to ping out a distress signal. No answer. Protocol said wait, retreat, regroup. Instead, she set demolition charges to cover her exit and took a maintenance shaft out through the understructure. She didn't stop moving until the stars of Helios. 9 shrank to pinpoint behind her. Amanda Reyes had once believed in chain of command, in the code of a soldier. That night it fractured. She saw how treaties were just paper folded into the shape of peace, delicate, breakable, and easily burned. 2 weeks later, in a bar on a smuggler's moon orbiting the edge of Imperial territory, a Varick merchant bragged about the conquest of a primitive human post, laughing over his drink. He didn't see the figure at the corner table lift her hood. He didn't notice how she watched him, calculating. He would be dead by sunrise. A single shot from an angle no one could trace. The only clue, a sniper's bullet buried in bone, stamped with serial number long, since wiped from any registry. Amanda Reyes had made a decision. The Empire had mock a human sniper. Now they would learn what one could do when no longer bound by silence, orders, or treaties. And this time, she wouldn't miss. The explosion had been timed with precision. A cargo shuttle bound for a frontier port went up in a flash of light above the gas moon Veridan, its debris scattering like confetti across low orbit. Official records would show one human casualty. Staff Sergeant Amanda Reyes, killed in transit. No body recovered, no signal beacon found. For all intents and purposes, she was gone. But Amanda Reyes had never boarded that shuttle. Instead, she drifted silently aboard a cloaked maintenance skiff, purchased under an alias and stripped of all identifying tech. She watched the explosion from a distance, her face still, her breath calm. With her death stage, she was free to become something the Empire couldn't predict. Not a soldier, not an ambassador, something else. She shed her uniform piece by piece and rebuilt herself from the fragments of other lives. A smuggler-stolen stealth suit modified for vacuum silence. A railgun core cannibalized from a mining laser, now capable of firing projectiles at relativistic speeds. A heads-up display written in obsolete Terran code, untraceable by Empire systems. She rebalanced every detail of her gear, every movement. In the silence of the asteroid field she now called home, she trained alone. One breath, one trigger pull. She didn't speak aloud for days at a time. Words weren't necessary. Her first strike came with no warning. A communications relay on the edge of Imperial territory went offline. No alarms, no gunfire. When soldiers arrived to investigate, they found the command staff dead. Each one killed by a single shot to a non-vital organ, deliberate, precise. The wounds had time to bleed. Amanda had watched them panic through her scope before ending it. She left behind a crude patch, scorched into the wall with an arc torch. A Terran sniper's insignia, upside down. News of the attack spread through underground channels faster than the official Empire response. It wasn't just sabotage. It was personal. The Varric military denied any pattern. They called it coincidence. But that a munitions foreman on Trianguli Prime was found in his armored convoy, skull caved in by a hypervelocity round. Then a battalion captain in orbit over Nymer drifted out of his bunk in Zero-G. His helmet cracked inward. Always one shot. Always untraceable. Fear began to take root, not in the hearts of civilians, but in the command corridors of the Empire's military elite. There was talk of a rogue human, a ghost sniper from the failed Helios outpost, taking revenge, but the official line dismissed it. Human propaganda, they called it, an attempt to stir rebellion. Amanda listened to their broadcast from the shadows. Her face never changed. She began to leave more clues. Etched bullet casings in local dialects, code phrases carved into bulkheads. She would bypass entire platoons just to put a round between the eyes of a single logistics officer, then vanish without a trace. She wasn't at war with soldiers. She was dismantling an idea, the illusion of the Empire's invincibility. Eventually, they began to hunt her. Elite strike teams, cyber trackers, bounty hunters. They scoured the frontier with heat maps and sensor sweeps. One squad even caught a glimpse of her heat signature on a remote moon during a failed ambush. By the time they reached the coordinates, they found only a broken helmet with a Varric general's faceplate fused to it. Amanda's message: I am not hiding. I am choosing. Each strike she executed wasn't just about who she killed. It was about how an Imperial weapons scientist was found dismembered by a blast door override system. A defense minister's ship suffered a hull breach on the exact side where Amanda's shot had detonated a fuel line. All mechanical, all impersonal, and yet unbearably intimate. She was designing fear. Still, not everyone feared her. In the outer systems, where the Empire's rule ran thinner and its cruelty more obvious, whispers of Amanda Reyes carried a different tone. To some, she was more than a ghost. She was proof that the Empire could bleed, that even a lone human could outwit their legions and strike at their pride. Rebellion didn't organize yet, but the dream of it stirred like smoke behind locked doors. Amanda didn't seek their praise. She didn't contact Earth. She didn't believe in messages anymore, only consequences. But each time she read an intercepted Empire report, tracking her movements, Each time she saw the growing frustration in their tone, she felt a cold satisfaction. One night, she perched atop a communication tower, watching the sky flare with ion engines. A minor noble's cruiser glided over the desert planet like a silent predator. She could have taken the shot. The man was a warlord in all but name. His death would shake the system. But she didn't pull the trigger. Instead, she listened to his call. He was afraid, not of Amanda, not yet, but of what her actions might provoke. He begged his superiors to negotiate with Earth again, to restore order before things escalated. That hesitation was what Amanda wanted more than his death. Doubt. She powered down her scope and disappeared into dunes, her footprints vanishing in the wind. Amanda Reyes wasn't fighting for Earth. She wasn't even fighting for the fallen of Helios 9 anymore. She was fighting for the silence that came just before a shot, the breathless moment when arrogance turns into fear. And she had just begun to aim. The desert colony on Isra V was burning. Amanda knelt atop a crumbling water tower, breath even, rifle pressed to her shoulder. The scent of scorched polymer and ionized blood carried on the wind. Below, Varric shock troops moved in formation, their targeting optics sweeping through smoke and sand. Civilians screamed as they were corralled into freight containers. Those who resisted were silenced with plasma bursts. She squeezed the trigger. The lead officer's head snapped back, armor fracturing. Before his corpse hit the ground, Amanda had already repositioned, moving like a ghost across the rusted rooftops. The Empire had come not to claim territory, but to deliver a message. Defiance would be answered with annihilation. But Amanda had her own message. She dropped 2 more soldiers before the rest scattered, confused by the attack. Her pattern was unpredictable. Some shots struck fatal, others crippled. She wanted the survivors to carry fear with them, to describe the unseen precision, the cold silence, psychological erosion, delivered 1 round at a time. A child sobbed beneath a collapsed merchant stand. Amanda descended, holstering her sidearm. She lifted a broken support beam off the girl with practiced calm and pointed her toward the tunnels beneath the settlement. The child didn't speak, only ran. Amanda didn't follow. Her shoulder burned. Shrapnel, maybe, but she moved with the same controlled grace. Pain was information. She logged it, filed it away. By nightfall, the attack had been repelled, but at a cost. A third of the colony lay in ruin, family shattered. Amanda sat on the edge of a dune, tending her wound under dim starlight. Blood mixed with the dust. Her fingers moved automatically, clean, clamp, stitch. She winced once, then buried it. The strike had proven what she already knew. The Empire was escalating. They'd stopped trying to discredit her. Now, they were trying to smoke her out. She wasn't alone for long. A signal pinged on her secure channel, one she hadn't used in weeks. The encryption was unfamiliar, the language fractured, but it wasn't human. That made it interesting. At a rendezvous point carved into an asteroid hollow shell, Amanda met them. The Drell, a conquered species once known for its architects and philosophers, now reduced to forced labor under imperial rule. Their leader, Carol, was a wiry creature with translucent skin and a voice like static through glass. He offered no flattery, only facts. "You've done what our insurrections could not," he said. "You've made them bleed in public." Amanda said nothing. She didn't need alliances. She didn't trust them. Carol pressed. "We can help. We know where they sleep, where they think they're safe." Amanda's eyes narrowed. "Why me?" He leaned in, his pupils dilating like ink in water. "Because you don't fight like a rebel. You fight like a consequence." She agreed, not with words, but with silence. If the Drell had intelligence, she would use it. She didn't believe in their cause, but their goals aligned for now. Together, they planned the next strike. Not a symbolic target this time. A war council. Amanda studied every route, every variable. The Drell provided blueprints of station, a fortified structure orbiting a gas giant, cloaked and guarded by 3 destroyers. Inside, 12 senior Varric strategists were to meet and consolidate efforts against the growing unrest. Amanda would make sure they didn't leave. In the days leading up to the operation, she barely slept. Her fingers traced the curve of her rifle's barrel like a rosary. The names of the dead echoed in her head, not spoken, just remembered. She wrote letters she would never send. To the families of Helios, to the colonists of Israel, to herself. It wasn't guilt. It was something colder. A ledger, perhaps. A tally. The insertion was silent. The drill breached the station's thermal shielding and opened a narrow vent corridor. Amanda crawled through it for 13 minutes in complete darkness, her body pressed tight between frozen pipes. Every breath was measured, every heartbeat counted. When she emerged into the service bay, she moved like vapor. Cameras died in her wake. Guards never saw her. She scaled the inner dome superstructure, lying prone on a maintenance strut above the central chamber. Below her, the War Council began. They spoke in tones of arrogance, trading strategies and insults about humans and their scattered colonies. Amanda adjusted the magnetic stabilizers on her rifle. Crosshairs settled over one Varick general's primary heart chamber. One breath in, 3 rounds fired in succession. The first pierced the general's torso. The second ricocheted off a railing into another's neck. The third struck a power conduit, plunging the chamber into chaos. She was moving before the bodies hit the ground. Security descended with kinetic shields and pulse rifles, but Amanda was already gone, ducking through maintenance shafts, trailing coded signal loops to mislead their sensors. She left behind a data spike, wired into the station's archive. It looped one message across every screen, every terminal. We are not your inferiors. We are your reckoning. By the time the Empire sealed the station, Amanda had breached the docking bay and launched herself into open space, magnet clamped to a departing debris pod. The stars welcomed her with silence. As the Empire reeled from the loss of its war council, its outer systems began to fracture. Confidence eroded. Commanders hesitated. Warlords saw opportunities. Whispers of rebellion ignited like static fires in dry grass. And Amanda Reyes, ghost, sniper, consequence, watched from black, her scope aimed at the next heartbeat in the Empire's chest. The Varick Empire responded with fury. Fleet movements escalated across 3 sectors. Colonies were seized under martial law, orbital cities blockaded, and civil unrest crushed under the weight of scorched earth doctrine. The assassination of their war council, once thought impossible, had wounded their pride more than their structure. But the wound festered. The harder they struck out, the more worlds turned away from their banner, and the more they whispered the same name in defiance. Reyes. Amanda knew they were getting closer. Her safe houses became compromised in half the time. Algorithms tracked her heat signatures more effectively. Empire scouts began scouring ancient Terran comm chatter in hopes of triangulating her speech patterns. But she stayed ahead, one step at a time. For every algorithm, she left a false trail. For every tracker, a corpse. She changed weapons, updated biosigns, rewrote herself with every planetfall. Still, she knew it couldn't last. The Empire had begun to adapt, not by brute force, but by patience. Her last mission had cost her a lung. The blast had come from a plasma mine she hadn't detected. Her first mistake in nearly a year. She'd sealed the suit, administered an autostem, and escaped, but not before coughing up blood into the vacuum filter. Carol offered to extract her, but she refused. Pain had never stopped her, but now it slowed her. On the barren ice world of Draxus V, Amanda hid in a geothermal facility abandoned after the first Varick conquest. There, among the dead cables and frost-covered servos, she waited. She needed time. Time to heal. Time to plan. But what arrived instead was a voice. I don't want to kill you, Reyes. She recognized it immediately. General Torgu, the same one who had mocked her on Helios 9, the same whose troops had razed that station into ash. The broadcast came over an unsecured channel, broadcast locally, purposeful, calculated. I've studied you, Torgu continued, his tone colder than space. You don't kill for pleasure. You kill for discipline. You kill because you must. Amanda listened motionless, one hand resting on the grip of her pistol. You made us fear you, he said. You won, but fear is like flame. It burns until it consumes itself. She said nothing. Silence was still her sharpest blade. You're not a soldier anymore, he continued. You're a symbol, and symbols don't survive reality. Let me give you an ending worthy of your story. It was a trap, of course. The transmission was triangulated. Within minutes, strike pods screamed to the atmosphere, landing around the geothermal ruins. Amanda was already moving, her breath ragged, her gear pared down to essentials. A compact rifle, 1 blade, 2 charges. She counted 6 units on infrared, elite, heavy armor, no exposed vitals. The kind of team sent to eliminate myths. She didn't plan to escape this time. Instead, she led them into the station's cooling chamber, a labyrinth of mist and broken catwalks. Her movements were slower now, her breath wheezing under the rebreather, but her eyes sharp as ever. She marked each route, each step. For every Varric soldier that entered, only screams emerged. One slipped on a cryopipe and was met with her blade. Another walked into a timed charge, his armor liquefied by the blast. 3 left. Amanda climbed to the highest platform, used her last bullet to pierce the coolant valves, flooding the chamber in fog. Visibility dropped to nothing. That's when she heard it. Boots, heavy, deliberate, not soldier steps. Torga stepped into view, his silhouette vast in the haze. Helm removed. His chitin shimmered, eyes glowing faintly. He held no weapon, just a shock baton holstered at his side. You become a contagion, he said. Even my own troops hesitate now. Not because of Earth, not because of your people. Because of you. One human, a sniper with no flag. Amanda steadied her rifle. Torga didn't flinch. Do it. Let history remember you for this moment. A broken soldier with a single shot left. She hesitated. His presence brought with it the echoes of Helios. 9, the screams, the fires, the betrayal. But also the weight of everything she had become since. Rage no longer drove her. Neither did revenge. Not anymore. She lowered the rifle. Torga's eyes narrowed. Mercy? No. Amanda said for the first time in days. Judgment. She pressed a remote. A seismic charge, long buried under the coolant vault, detonated with a deep, resonant roar. The entire chamber cracked open, collapsing the facility inward. Amanda was flung backward, her body landing amid ice and smoke. When she opened her eyes, she saw stars. Her suit's warning system screamed, oxygen low, integrity breached, but she was still breathing. Just barely. Torga was gone, buried beneath frozen steel, or blown into the wind. Amanda crawled from the wreckage, blood soaking through the fabric of her suit. Each movement was a knife, each breath a countdown. But still she moved. By the time rescue arrived, Drell smugglers responding to a pre-coded beacon. They found only the aftermath, an empty rifle, a Shadow Command mask, and a single pulse signal buried in the snow. It read, I'm not your symbol. I'm your end. Amanda Reyes vanished once more. Some say she died that day. Others claim she watches from orbit still, rifle aligned with the Empire's next breath. The Varric never officially confirmed the death of General Torgu, nor did they speak of Reyes again in broadcasts. But their conquest slowed. Their borders contracted. And every Varric commander, before boarding a transport or addressing a fleet, paused just once to glance at the sky, because fear, when earned, never truly dies. And Amanda Reyes had earned every single shot.